Hi, my name is Marianne. I'm a photographer and I mostly photograph black and minority ethnic women because I feel like it's about time we had more coverage of such women in the media, and I identify as a black African woman quite strongly, and I'd say that kind of influences my decision to photograph mostly black and minority ethnic women. I started photography when I was, I think, about 16, or 17, I'm not sure, about 5 years ago I think. I got a camera in 2011. I'd say when I look at people and I want to decide if I should photograph them, I kind of look out for a couple of things. I'm mostly drawn to people with different features that stand out, features that you don't usually see in the mainstream media, and even now on social media as well. I feel like even though there is a lot more diversity in terms of what we see online, it still kind of fits a certain box, and I try to kind of go outside of that and photograph people who bring something different to the table. I think social media tools are incredible in helping me promote my work, but it is something that's quite challenging as well, because I've heard people say, oh, everyone's a photographer nowadays, or a DJ or whatever, and there's like, everyone's pretty much doing the same thing, and it's really hard to stand out, and that's something I think I still struggle with today, because I don't think I have a massive social media following, but I think whenever I have one of those moments where I feel like, this photo didn't get as much coverage as I would have liked, I guess I just kind of remember where I'm going in the end, and I've also come to realize that people pursue different things for different reasons. So while some people might be interested in getting a ton of likes on their pictures or more exposure, that's not really the end goal for me in terms of my photography. So where I'm trying to get to at the end has not that much to do with my social media exposure, really. There are a ton of photographers who aren't on social media and are doing quite well, just as there are quite a few photographers who get 1,000 likes on their pictures, but maybe there isn't really anything more to it. I've noticed that people just don't post their work on social media. So people have actually said to me, why don't you post more selfies on your Instagram? And I'm just like, because it's for my photography, not for my face. And I've only posted pictures of myself twice on my Instagram account. And when I did, I got more likes than my pictures on my photography, because it's, in a way, it's kind of like no one cares about your photography, you just want to see how cute you look in real life. But in the long run, I don't want to have a ton of Instagram followers and not be able to pay my bills. That just doesn't make any sense to me. So I think it's still just more important to figure out where you want to go and what you're trying to do and your goals and your objectives. If you look at my photography, most of my pictures are taken outdoors, using natural light, and not a lot of props actually. And so for me, that's kind of been a critical part of my work, in the sense that when you look at mainstream media, I think it kind of portrays a different sense of who these women are in a way. It's just, to me, it just doesn't seem real. It's not like, they don't seem like real people to me. So when I photograph people, they usually come out with minimal makeup or no makeup at all. I usually ask my models to wear clothes that they already own, so I'm not, dressing them up, in a crazy way. And for me, feminine beauty is, I would consider that to just be simplicity, and I guess just raw, organic, or all of those words. So that's kind of why I tend to photograph women just in their natural state, and it's just a lot easier for me to do that, because even I then feel more confident as well photographing women when they laugh, because that's something women do. When we laugh, well, human beings. Photography, to me, and I think it should be, mostly about storytelling, and that's something I've always tried to do in my work. So I actually started with street photography, so I think that was what inspired the whole telling a story kind of thing behind that. Because when I started photography, I was this really awkward 16-year-old with like social anxiety, and so I couldn't really go out and meet people and stuff like that. So I felt more comfortable just going out on the street, like in a packed place, and just taking pictures of people. And so as time went on, I started doing more portrait photography, mostly with my friends at school, and then moving on to models and people I hardly knew. So for me, the storytelling part of photography has always been quite important. Of course, everyone knows the stereotype that if you have African parents, you've got to be a doctor or a lawyer. But to be honest, I think we need to kind of move on from that now, because I think I don't know if it's so much the fact that you need to be a doctor or a lawyer. I think African parents just want their kids to be successful, and maybe at a certain period of time they thought you could only be successful by being a doctor or a lawyer. But I think now that's very different. A lot of young African people are now doing more creative stuff, and they're doing quite well at it. In my case, that stereotype wasn't true at all. But generally, my parents aren't exactly the traditional or stereotypical Africans anyway. But they have been so supportive from the very beginning. I remember having a sit down with my dad and thinking of like a name for my photography. Advice to anyone who is trying to get into a creative field and is a bit worried about their parents. I think it's just important for them. I guess I'd go to them and tell them, okay, here's what I'm interested in doing, and I think this thing has potential for me, and I think I will be able to, fend for myself or survive in this world or pay my bills somehow. I think it's just important to have an action plan and show them that. I think it's a bit cliche, but I'd say that I'm motivated by where I want to be. When I do a new shoot, I actually see myself improving, and that's something that definitely motivates me. And so I think, okay, if I'm doing this well right now, from every single shoot I'm doing, imagine what I would be doing in 5 years. Imagine the kind of work I would have, I would leave behind. We're constantly, evolving, we're constantly changing, people change a lot, and Black and minority ethnic women today, in some ways, look different from the women in the 50s, and they have different lifestyles, and I'm just trying to document this particular time, and so in the future people can look at my work and say, okay, this is what Black and minority ethnic women look like back then. Something I'd say motivates me, knowing that I can, I guess in a way, contribute to making a mark in history. And at the moment I'm working on a new project. I can't say too much about it now because it's still in the works, but it's essentially centered around African, Asian and Middle Eastern women. So I'm actually on the lookout for women, and I'm going to publicize all of this stuff later on once it's all finalized. But I think I realized something in my photography. Personally, I felt like I was just taking photos of these women and not saying anything about them. And I just kind of thought, what's the point of that? It's not, I don't just want to take like pretty photos. I want to do more, and that's kind of linked to me leaving something behind. So every time I work with someone, I find out that they have such interesting lives. They're all doing such cool things, and even they all, I guess, navigate their identities in different ways, and that's something that's really been interesting to me. So I'm working on a new project where I kind of mix photography with a bit of storytelling, actual storytelling, and hopefully maybe turn it into a photo book of some sort.